it's Beth, aka Yarny Cat Bibliophile, and I'm going to reread the two stories that I did at the beginning of this week because I did not know that I had my mic muted. So, I'm going to read again the Good Bargain and The Wonderful Musician. And I'm going to just put them both into this video. Okay, The Good Bargain by the Grimm brothers. There was once a peasant who had driven his cow to the fair and sold her for 7 thalers. On the way home, he had to pass upon it, and already from afar he heard the frogs crying, "Ache, ache, ache, ache." "Well," he said to himself, "they are talking without rhyme or reason. It is 7 that I have received, not 8. Then he got to the water. He cried to them, "Stupid animals that you are, don't you know better than that? It is the 7 thalers and not 8. The frogs, however, stood to their ache, 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 ache. "Come then, if you won't believe it, I cannot count it out to you." And he got his money out of his pocket and counted out 7 thalers, always reckoning 24 groschen to the thaler. The frogs, however, could not pay any attention to his reckoning, but still cried, "Ache, ache, ache, ache." "What?" cried the peasant, quite angry. "Since you are all determined to know better than I, count it yourselves," and threw all the money into the water to them. He stood still and wanted to wait until they were done, and had brought him his own again. But the frogs maintained their opinion and cried continually, "Ache, ache, ache, ache," and besides that, did not throw the money out again. He still waited a long while until evening came on, and he was forced to go home. Then he abused the frogs and cried, "You water splashers, you thickheads, you goggle eyes. You have great mouths and can screech till you hurt one's ears, but you cannot count 7 thalers. Do you think I'm going to stand here till you get done?" And with that, he went away, but the frogs still cried, "Ache, ache, ache, ache," after him until he went home quite angrily. After a while, he bought another cow, which he killed, and he made the calculation that if he sold the meat, well, he might gain as much as the 2 cows were worth, and have the skin into the bargain. When therefore he got to the town with the meat, a great troop of dogs were gathered together in front of the gate, with a large greyhound at the head of them, which jumped at the meat, snuffed at it, and barked, "Wow, wow, wow." As there was no stopping him, the peasant said to him, Yes, I know quite well that thou art saying, "Wow, wow, wow," because thou wantest some of the meat. But I should fare badly if I were to give it to thee." The dog, however, answered nothing but, "Wow, wow." "Wilt thou promise not to devour it all then, and wilt thou go bail for thy companions?" "Wow, wow, wow," said the dog. "Well, if thou insist on it, I will leave it for thee. I know thee well, and know who is thy master. But this I tell thee, I must have my money in 3 days, or else it will go ill with thee. You must just bring it out to me." Thereupon he unloaded the meat and turned back again. The dogs fell upon it and loudly barked, "Wow, wow." The countryman, who heard them from afar, said to himself, "Hark, now they all want some, but the big one is responsible to me for it." Then 3 days had passed. The countryman thought, "Tonight my money will be in my pocket," and was quite delighted. But no one would come and pay it. There was no trusting anyone now, said he, and at last he lost patience and went into the town to the butcher and demanded his money. The butcher thought it was a joke, but the peasant said, "Jesting apart, I will have my money. Did not the great dog bring you the whole of the slaughtered cow 3 days ago?" Then the butcher grew angry, snatched a broomstick, and drove him out. "Wait a while," said the peasant. There is still some justice in the world," and went to the royal palace and begged for an audience. He was led before the king, who sat there with his daughter, and asked him what injury he had suffered. "Alas," said he, "the frogs and the dogs have taken from me what is mine, and the butcher has paid me for it with the stick." And he related at full length all that had happened. Thereupon the king's daughter began to laugh heartily, and the king said to him, "I cannot give you justice in this, but you shall have my daughter to wife for it. In her whole life she has never yet laughed, and has just done at thee, and I have promised her to him who could make her laugh. Thou mayest thank God for thy good fortune." "Oh," answered the peasant, "I will not have her. I have a wife already, and she is one too many for me. When I go home, it is just as bad as if I had a wife standing in every corner." When the king grew angry and said, "Thou art a boor." "Ah, Lord King," replied the peasant, "what can you expect from an ox but beef?" "Stop," answered the king, "thou shalt have another reward. Be off now, but come back in 3 days, and then thou shalt have 500 counted out in full." Then the peasant went out by the gate. The sentry said, "Thou hast made the king's daughter laugh, so thou wilt certainly receive something good." "Yes, that is what I think," answered the peasant. 500 are to be counted out to me." "Hark thee," said the soldier, "give me some of it. What canst thou do with all that money?" "As it is thou shalt have 200. Present thyself in 3 days' time before the king, and let it be paid to thee." A Jew who was standing by had heard the conversation, ran after the peasant, held him by the coat, and said, "O wonder, what a luck child thou art! I will change it for thee. I will change it for thee into small coins. What dost thou want with the great thalers?" "Jew," said the countryman, 300 canst thou still have. Give it to me at once in coin in 3 days from this. Thou wilt be paid for it by the king." The Jew was delighted with the profit, and brought the sum in bad groschen, 3 of which were worth 2 good ones. After 3 days had passed according to the king's command, the peasant went before the king. "Pull his coat off," said the latter, "and he shall have his 500. "Ah," said the peasant, "they no longer belong to me. I presented 200 of them to the sentinel, and 300 to the Jew has changed for me. So by right nothing at all belongs to me." In the meantime, the soldier and the Jew entered and claimed what they had gained from the peasant, and they received the blows strictly counted out. The soldier bore it patiently and knew already how it tasted. But the Jew said sorrowfully, "Alas, alas, these are heavy thalers. Are these the heavy thalers?" The king could not help but laugh at the peasant, and as all his anger was gone, he said, "As thou hast already lost thy reward before it fell to thy lot, I will give thee something in place of it. Go into my treasure chamber and get some money for thyself, as much as thou wilt." The peasant did not need to be told twice, and stuffed into his big pockets whatsoever gold would go in. Afterwards he went to an inn and counted over his money. The Jew had crept after him and heard how he muttered to himself, "That rogue of a king has cheated me after all. Why could he not have given me the money himself? And then I should have known what I had. How can I tell now if what I have had the luck to put in my pockets is right or not?" "Good heavens," said the Jew to himself, "that man is speaking disrespectfully of our lord the king. I will run and inform, and then I shall get a reward, and he will be punished as well." When the king heard of the peasant's words, he fell into a passion and commanded the Jew to go and bring the offender to him. The Jew ran to the peasant. "You are to go at once to the lord king in the very clothes you have on." "I know what's right better than that," answered the peasant. "I shall have a new coat made first. Dost thou think that a man with so much money in his pocket is to go there in his ragged old coat?" The Jew, as he saw that the peasant would not stir without another coat, and as he feared that if the king's anger cooled, he himself would lose his reward. And the peasant was punishment. And the peasant, his punishment, said, I will go out of pure friendship, lend thee a coat for the short time. But will people not do for love? What will people do not do for love? The peasant was contented with this, put the Jew's coat on, and went off with him. The king reproached the countryman because of the evil speaking of which the Jew had informed him. Ah, said the peasant, what a Jew says is always false. No true word ever comes out of his mouth. That rascal there is capable of maintaining that I have his coat on. What is that? Shrieked the Jew. Is the coat not mine? Have I not lent it to thee out of pure friendship in order that thou mightest appear before the good Lord King? When the Lord heard that, he said, the Jew has assuredly deceived one or the other of us, either myself or the peasant. And again he ordered something to be counted out to him in hard thalers. The peasant, however, went home in the good coat, with the good money in his pocket, and said to himself, this time I have hit it. The end. Now I will read The Wonderful Musician. There was once a wonderful musician who went quite alone through a forest and thought of all manner of things. And when nothing was left for him to think about, he said to himself, time is beginning to pass heavily with me here in the forest. I will fetch hither a good companion for myself. Then he took his fiddle from his back and played so that it echoed through the trees. It was not long before a wolf came trotting through the thicket towards him. Ah, here is a wolf coming. I have no desire for him, said the musician. But the wolf came near and said to him, ah, dear musician, how beautifully thou dost play. I should like to learn that too. It is soon learnt, the musician replied. Thou hast only to do all that I bid thee. Oh, musician, said the wolf, I will obey thee as a scholar obeys his master. The musician bade him follow, and when they had gone part of the way together, they came to an old oak tree which was hollow inside, and cleft in the middle. Look, said the musician, if thou wilt learn to fiddle, put thy forepaws into this crevice. The wolf obeyed, but the musician quickly picked up a stone, and with one blow wedged his two paws so fast that he was forced to stay there like a prisoner. Stay there until I come back again, said the musician, and went his way. After a while, he again said to himself, time is beginning to pass heavily with me here in the forest. I will fetch hither another companion, and took his fiddle and again played in the forest. It was not long before a fox came creeping through the trees towards him. Ah, there's a fox coming, said the musician. I have no desire for him. The fox came up to him and said, oh, dear musician, how beautifully thou dost play. I should like to learn that too. That is soon learnt, said the musician. Thou hast not only to do everything that I bid thee. O musician, then said the fox, I will obey thee as a scholar obeys his master. Follow me, said the musician. And when they had walked a part of the way, they came to a footpath with high bushes on both sides of it. There the musician still stood, and from one side bent a young hazel bush down to the ground, and put his foot on the top of it. Then he bent down a young tree from the other side as well, and said, now, little fox, if thou wilt learn something, give me thy left front paw. The fox obeyed, and the musician fashioned his paw to the left bough. Little fox, said he, now reach me thy right paw, and he tied it to the right bough. Then he had examined whether they were firm enough. He let go, and the bushes sprang up again and jerked up the little fox, so that it hung struggling in the air. Wait there till I come back again, said the musician, and went his way. Again he said to himself, time is beginning to pass heavily with me here in the forest. I will fetch hither another companion. So he took his fiddle, and the sound echoed through the forest. Then a little hare came springing towards him. Why, a hare is coming, said the musician. "I do not want him." "Ah, dear musician," said the hare, "how beautifully thou dost fiddle. I, too, should like to learn that." "That is soon learnt," said the musician. "Thou hast only to do everything that I bid thee." "O musician," replied the little hare, "I will obey thee as a scholar obeys his master." They went a part of the way together until they came to an open space in the forest, where stood an aspen tree. The musician tied a long string around the little hare's neck, the other end of which he fastened to the tree. "Now briskly, little hare, run 20 times around the tree," cried the musician, and the little hare obeyed. And when it had run around 20 times, it had twisted the string 20 times around the trunk of the tree, and the little hare was caught. And let it pull and tug as it liked, it only made the string cut into its tender neck. "Wait there till I come back," said the musician, and went onwards. The wolf in the meantime had pushed and pulled and bitten at the stone that had worked so long that he had set his feet at liberty and had drawn them once more out of the cleft. Full of anger and rage, he hurried after the musician and wanted to tear him to pieces. When the fox saw him running, he began to lament and cried with all his might, "Brother Wolf, come to my help! The musician has betrayed me." The wolf drew down the little tree, bit the cord in two, and freed the fox, who went with him to take revenge on the musician. They found the tied-up hare, whom likewise they delivered, and then they all sought the enemy together. The musician had once more played his fiddle as he went on his way, and this time he had been more fortunate. The sound reached the ears of a poor woodcutter, who instantly, whether he would or no, gave up his work and came with his hatchet under his arm to listen to the music. "At last comes the right companion," said the musician, "for I was seeking a human being and no wild beast." And he began to play so beautifully and delightfully that the poor man stood there as if bewitched, and his heart leapt with gladness. And as he thus stood, the wolf, the fox, and the hare came up, and he saw well that they had some evil design. So he raised his glittering axe and placed himself before the musician, as if to say, "Whoso wishes to touch him, let him beware, for he will have to do with me." Then the beasts were terrified and ran back into the forest. The musician, however, played once more to the man out of gratitude, and then went onwards. The end.